Hi, I'm Laura and I'm business process consultant at Spectrum Digital.
Hi, I'm Luke Ives. I'm Sales Support Manager and Leasing Manager for Thompson Commercials. Prior to therefore, we did everything on Excel.
Okay, wow.
It was quite difficult to handle. We've got obviously the administrators and the sales team. There's 15 members of the sales team all around the country, northeast of the country. They all had access to this one Excel spreadsheet. They would input all of their data into that, and then we would go and grab that data. So it was very manual. Lots of opportunities for things to be edited.
Yeah.
So not a lot of protection on any of the data that was being submitted.
Yeah.
And also there wasn't really a solid process.
Okay.
So because of that, things started to get a bit out of hand.
You've got, is it 7 sites?
Yep.
7 sites. Yeah. So did you have people at each site doing it?
Yeah. I'd say roughly 2 salespeople at each site.
Okay. So then it's 7 sites doing it all differently, potentially.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Some people would use Excel, others wouldn't. They would just email through documents.
Okay.
Sort of. Sometimes when they felt like it felt like. But it just got too out of hand, and there was a few quite costly mistakes that happened because of that unstructured way of doing things.
Yeah. So this has streamlined things a bit.
Oh yeah.
Less
Absolutely,
mistakes, less human error.
It's helped us a lot from having a structure to retrieving correct data. Basically, we can use therefore to ask the user exactly what we need from them.
Yeah. And
they can't progress the process until they provide what the system needs.
Yeah.
So that ensures that we don't get wrong data, we don't receive wrong documents. Everything we get is everything we need.
Yeah. So how is it that we're getting that information, that structured information from them?
So it's the e-form. They all have access to that. They load up the e-form. They select what they need to do. So it's just a drop down, multiple options. They can either select a vehicle from our stock, and then they're asked multiple questions, basically related to the sales order. Therefore, we'll ask those questions. Sometimes they'll have to enter some data into a field, or they'll need to attach a document. If they're not selecting from stock, they need to order it from the factory. So that's a different option. Very similar laid out form. There's just an extra few different bits that we need because we're ordering it fresh from the factory. Yeah.
So within the one form, it allows you to do multiple processes, really, and then adapts the fields and the questions for those different processes.
On that form, we have certain data sets that we've built related to the model. So if they select a specific model, it will then autofill different areas of the form based on that model. That's something we never had before. It would all be very manual. Someone would select a model and then we would have to go and add in all the extra bits. We'd have to do that anymore.
Yeah, that's the form side of things. What's the output of that form?
So the form arrives with me and my team. We accept it. We process it in terms of the first process that we start is what we call the order submission process. That's one of 4 main processes that we run. That process is designed to acknowledge the order, really. And if there's any deposits that need raising, we raise them at that point, send it off to the customer. They pay that deposit. Once that's paid, that order submission is then marked as complete, and then therefore then sees that and starts what we call the sales order process, or SOP.
Yeah.
Which is what all the team recognise that now, as no one needs to say sales order process, we just say the SOP. And the SOP deals with the sales order. So raising purchase orders, raising invoices, vehicle registration.
So is it integrated with other systems to be able to do that?
Yeah. So as we go through the workflow of those processes, other processes start and other processes end.
Okay.
And it's all based on triggers.
Yeah.
So it was all things that we did prior to Therefore, but it relied on memory, bits of paper, an Excel spreadsheet, an email.
Yeah.
Now Therefore prompts us.
Okay.
And in the beginning, it was the user would be sat there waiting for Therefore to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Therefore still does that, but because we're familiar with the system, it's trained us to be better.
Yeah. Standardise the process.
It's given us those disciplines to follow. Therefore still there leading the way.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's good.
Yeah, guiding you rather than leading you now, kind of thing. Yeah, that's great. So the other processes that you're saying were like paper and everything, are they now all kind of digitized? You store them together in there?
Yeah, we don't deal with paper anymore. Probably the only document we deal with physically is the delivery note from the delivery company, but to be honest, most of them now are digital. There's only a few that deal with paper still. And then it's the V5 logbook. Yeah. If it's a used vehicle, that's probably the only paper we deal with now.
Amazing.
And all the documents are all stored within each case. So we have a case per vehicle.
Yeah.
So every vehicle has its own case, and in that case is all of the documents.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, they were stored in a central location, but it was physical.
Yeah.
And it was just a folder on a shared drive.
Not easy to search and things like that.
Not easy to search, not very secure.
Yeah.
And just quite temperamental, really. Not very uniform.
Yeah.
Which is what Therefore is. It keeps everything neat and tidy. And
yeah. That's a good description of it.
We've got a number of, I've probably got 100 different reports that all do different things that I've programmed just to double click. Yeah. And it feed me the information. Yeah. I don't have to, I can set it up in the beginning, and then it's there to be used forever. You
mentioned before that part of this process is getting kind of payment from customers.
Yeah.
So is there a benefit there that you're getting kind of paid quicker by customers, making sure you do get your payments and on time?
I'd say that we are getting payment quicker.
Yeah.
Because Therefore is telling us it needs paying.
Yeah.
Again, it would rely on statements from accounts, emails from people to tell us that something isn't paid, whereas Therefore tells us it's not paid.
Yeah.
And we have different prompts in the system that notify administration, management, the sales team that something isn't paid still. So normally every month we have a debtors meeting. And that is just a list from accounts of everything in sales that is unpaid. Most of the time when we receive that debtors list, we're already aware that debt exists because Therefore has told us that it exists. So it's a double check.
Yeah.
When we receive that debtors list.
Yeah.
But Therefore is usually on top of it.
Yeah, it's a bit more proactive now rather than reactive to that.
That was a problem with the old system before Therefore. We always strived to be proactive, but because we were too busy being reactive, we couldn't.
Yeah, didn't have the time to be proactive.
Exactly, yeah.
That's great. Okay, so then kind of as additions to that process, we've then added on a couple other modules, haven't we? So if we talk about R&M briefly, so the R&M part, that process is kind of an addition to the e-form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Therefore, sales administration would notify the contracts team who deal with the R&M that a vehicle
R&M is
repair maintenance. So they would deal with the repair and maintenance contract, and they would rely on sales administration telling them that this vehicle needs an R&M contract. And again, that was very manual, emails, lots of mistakes, bad data management, etc. All the previous problems, a thing of the past. So therefore now grabs the data from the salesperson when they submit their order on the e-form.
Okay.
And contracts get a copy of that. So if we have a customer that is ordering a vehicle who wants that R&M contract on day one, they get notified about it on day one.
Yeah.
If the customer doesn't want it on day one, and throughout the build process changes their mind, there's then an option for sales admin to notify contracts through therefore in a similar fashion. Amazing.
Am I right in saying there's kind of a VAT or payment schedule that's created as part of therefore as well?
That used to be very manual. That was before therefore was a Word document.
Okay.
A blank template that a member of the team would have to sit and add the months. So if it was a 60-month deal, they would have to add 60 lines of data, the amount, and lots of copying and pasting of things and moving around.
Calculations, I guess, as well.
Yeah, working the VAT out. We don't have to do any of that now. We enter the amount, start date, term, and then as it moves along the process, therefore grabs that data, drops it into a template already there, and then just gives us the finished document.
How much time do you think that automating all these processes have saved you?
Over the course of a year, we've probably saved around 50 days while using therefore, compared to what we were doing.
Can you tell me about how the projects were implemented, so your experience with Spectrum, kind of the process from going from deciding this is something that needs automating, to I guess us coming in and discussing, scoping it with you?
Prior to us deciding to go forward with Spectrum, we did have a few other attempts at creating a new system. We never really found the right, I don't know if it's the right team of people at these suppliers, that they had lots of good ideas and lots of way of doing things, but there was always a few things that just weren't quite right.
Yeah.
And then when we found Spectrum, we met with John and Adam.
Yeah.
And they sort of provided us what they could do, and it all sort of ticked all the boxes. And then we just started to build. I built the sales system and the premium leasing system, and just building that workflow. And there was lots of, well, if we do that, what does that do? And if we do that, we can't do that. So it was quite a long process getting that built, because there is a lot of moving parts.
When you start looking at it in that like minute level of detail as well, it starts to get complex, doesn't it?
I quite enjoyed it, if I'm honest. But it was good to get all that all ironed out. So Spectrum helped a lot with that.
Amazing. And Spectrum's better than all the other suppliers.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can just say Spectrum is the best.
Spectrum is the best. There you go. Spectrum is the best.